My name is Vanessa Gildea. I am the head of Department of Film and Media and the National Film School here at IADT. I used to be a lecturer here. I taught part-time here for about 7 years, and just last year I was appointed in the role of head of department. I think we know as humans on the planet that sustainability is key to our survival, key to the future of the planet. So as an industry or as collaboration of film schools across the EU, we have the same responsibility that everybody else has, and maybe even more so because we are educational institutions. So we can lead by example. There's absolutely no reason why FilmEU couldn't be a leader in education against climate change and for sustainability. And what we teach will be carried on then into industry, and that will again propagate good practice, sustainable thinking, sustainable practice. It will become and is becoming, I think, second nature to film and television students because nobody is more acutely aware of the climate crisis than that generation. Not all our students are all the same age, but generally speaking, that school leaving into education and onto postgraduate studies, you're acutely aware, more so than my generation, of the effects because you're living it right now, right this minute. So if we create good theoretical research and then into strategic plans and then into practice, that will carry out into industry, into lives, and could really make a difference and really make a change. I think the three biggest things. One is sustainability, and I've spoken about that already, but implementing policy, research, and then small change leads to bigger change. Like I've only recently learned properly through colleagues here and in FilmEU the impact that data storage has on the environment. And that's something that we can really look at drive space, cloud space, and what sustainable alternatives, what other institutions are doing to tackle sustainability and to create good practice in that regard. So that's one thing we can start tackling locally to become something that becomes more FilmEU, more European-wide. I also think then in terms of two other elements are the biggest things for the future for us as film schools. And one is equality, diversity and inclusion. And I believe passionately that the future of film and television lies in gender parity and inclusion. So that's something I'm really personally passionate about, and we have initiatives here for women in film, but they all tie in together, you know, sustainability, social issues, inclusion, but then I think as well, obviously, technological advances. The core of what we do is always students, it's always storytelling, it's always writing, it's craft, it's making, but technologically, the industry is moving so fast and storytelling is changing in ways. It will always come down to good stories, well told, craft and excellence in the different sound and camera and lighting, editing disciplines, but it also, the possibilities of what we can do now with VR and AR, and it's evolving so fast that as film schools, it's a challenge to keep up with technological advances. And with technological advances can come solutions and alternatives for sustainability, because I think that they all tie in. And the more inclusive you are as a film school, the more diverse the students are from backgrounds, ethnically, socioeconomically, the more they get to be part of that conversation and how that can impact their communities locally. And again, in terms of equality, but also sustainability and technology, it's like they all tie in together in one kind of complicated but exciting mesh. Here's some of the things I wish someone had told me when I graduated from a film degree. And one is never, ever, ever think about what the industry's looking for. Never, ever look to what others are doing in the industry and try to emulate it. Try your damnedest to interrogate your own creative voice. Try and figure out what it is you want to say to the world, whether it's to make people laugh, because boy, do we need that, or for social change, or horror is your thing, or formatted television, just pursue that with abject ambition. Let nothing get in your way. Let nothing stop you. If you want to be a director, do not take a job being a trainee AD on a huge production where you'll man a gate for 12 hours a day with a walkie-talkie. If you want to be an AD, that's a great career to move into being a first AD. But if you want to be an auteur, be a director, make your own films, that's not necessarily the greatest path to go. So figuring out what it is you want is the first thing. Do you want to be a cinematographer? Do you want to be a director or a one-stop shop? Do you want to have your own company? What kind of films you want to make, and then just pursue that with dogged determination. And there's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing. Of course, you have to have talent, but you know, you can work with loads of talented people who'll make you look great. Production designers, cinematographers, sound designers. That's the best part of filmmaking. So that's one really, really important thing. Find your voice. And students always say to me, how do I do that? I mean, that's a whole other conversation that I have ideas about. I'm not going to go into here, but I think there are ways of interrogating that and ways of looking at that. But I think that that's one of the most important things. And be authentic and be kind to your colleagues, because you will need them throughout your life. There's people I worked with in college straight after, and I still meet them in industry and we still work together. So nurturing those relationships and making the most of your time at film school, because once it's gone, you have to pay for equipment, you have to pay for everything, you have to get funding. And yeah, I think it's figuring out who you are. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges in life, you know, and when you can start to connect with who your authentic self is, then you start to connect with who your authentic filmmaker, writer, cinematographer is. But do not look to industry to see what somebody else is doing, because they were the maverick. They did something. Scorsese talks about that. My filmmaking heroes, Pat Murphy, Jane Campion, they all talk about it. Everybody wants to be a Jane Campion or a Pat Murphy, but they were themselves. So all you can do, and Scorsese was here talking in Dublin, talking about, you know, I'm handing over the mantle now. I've changed things a bit. I shook things up, you know, in the 70s and beyond. Now it's over to you, the next generation. So it's your job to look at the norms, look at the traditions, and blow them apart, and do whatever it is that brings you joy in your career, and you'll just never go wrong.